we will push to exhaustion, to a fault. And we are very, very acutely aware of that because it can create a lot of problems. And those kind of problems are the things that make it really hard to recover from, because you go, oh, well, see, look at this thing. See, working out in the gym made everything worse. When that's not the reality, it's that I didn't put boundaries in place.
I think you could make a case that it's not actually that we push too hard. It's that we forget to rest. Like, we can go to exhaustion in the workout of life, so to speak, and go, okay, it's actually time to stop and have a recovery phase. But a recovery phase to you and I is not really rest. It's stop, drink a little bit of water, and catch your breath, so that you can go hard again, right? Welcome back to the Wow Level Life podcast. My name is Harris III. I'm joined by my go-to co-host and partner in crime and life partner in all things good and evil.
Okay. That one got me. That one got me really good.
Her name's Kate. I found out her nickname around the house is Babe on the last episode.
My kids think my name is Babe.
And on this episode of the Wow Level Life podcast, we are going to talk about how stressed out we are and why that is so good for us.
I did not know that that's what we were talking about. I am so stressed out.
Well, congratulations. Cool. That means perhaps you might be able to grow. Last week, we introduced you to a very famous story about a very famous series of books. And we just tried to kickstart, or that was last week before, we tried to kickstart a conversation around the role that stress and adversity plays in our growth. And then last week, we got to sit down with our good mutual friend, Curtis Rigg, our go-to personal trainer here in Nashville, an all-around good guy. He's got an incredible story, amazing wisdom and expertise when it comes to how the human body works, how that's connected to the human mind, and what it makes possible for us to go do, especially in the categories of strength and conditioning. So amazing guy. We have a blast with him. We laugh a lot. But in last week's interview, we got deeper into that topic, to that stress sometimes is actually the point. And if we put ourselves under intentional stress, not only can we get stronger, even when we bump into experiences throughout our life that stress us out unintentionally, it also has the opportunity to make us stronger. So let's dive in. Let's talk about stress. Kate, as usual, we don't prepare for these episodes.
Nope.
We just come in with the theme and a topic, and then we play a little jazz together. So I have no idea what your answer is about to be. On a scale of 0 to 10, how stressed out are you right now at this time of recording?
7.
Ooh, why?
Oh, man. We have a lot going on in the world. What's funny is I actually had a phone call with someone today, and they were like, how are you doing? And I was like, man, spring is hard. And they were like, I feel that. It feels like it sneaks up on us and then like slaps us upside the head. And I was like, we come out of Christmas break, and January is like, okay, we're easing back into this. And by February, it is full tilt. So yes, we have a lot going on in our life. We are also asking a lot of big questions, and we are thinking a lot of big things. And we've had a lot of health issues in our home. So those are just continuing. And that adds to the stress level, because you go, I don't know what today is going to be like, or tomorrow, or next week. Mm-hmm. But yes.
Yeah.
Long answer to short. 7.
Yeah. I don't know how, this is probably a little connected to the subject of stress and adversity. I forgot what the actual true answer is on this, but I think it's like the number one reason for divorce, or the top reasons for divorce, are like trying to grow a business or some kind of financial situation, something about moving or building a house or renovating a house or something like that.
Kids.
Kids. And it's like, hey, let's just do them all at the same time.
Let's do all of that. I mean, no, we're not having any more kids. We have 3 beautiful, wonderful kids, and we are done.
Yes, I was about to make a bad joke there, but we're going to avoid that. Keep things on track. So we are trying to grow a business. We are entrepreneurs. We are business partners. Some people already know that. Some people may not, if they're not familiar with us. And we're doing some big things right now, taking some big risks, right? For the sake of pursuing a really big vision. We're trying to figure out why there is a global leadership crisis taking place right now in the US and around the world. Global leadership crisis. Think about those 3 words. So we're like, sure, let's try to do something about that. Let's try to solve a global problem like a leadership crisis. Who do we think we are? Well, we can't do that on their own. So we're trying to leverage some of the communities that we've built. Over the last 8 years, I still can't believe that I can say these words out loud, but we've worked really hard to succeed at building quite literally one of the most successful communities of the best storytellers in the world. They are some of the most brilliant creative minds in the world. They have the ability to help solve this crisis. We've also been building a community of entrepreneurs called the Poetics, and they are some of the most purpose-driven entrepreneurs on the planet. And collectively, even though they're typically small businesses by government classification, they are up to big things. And because they're so purpose-driven, we think they too can play a role in helping us collectively solve this global leadership crisis. But that's requiring some risk. We're going to take some big risk. We're doing some events literally all around the world. We're going to do an in-person, we call them symposiums, but it's an more intentionally designed conference-style event, but we're doing one on all 6 continents that people live on. Meanwhile, we decided, should we toy with selling our house and moving? There for a bit, we were even going to move to a different city. That was shocking. I never thought we would even consider that. And then our kids are going through stuff, school stuff, growing up, friend stuff, family stuff. Just a lot going on. But if what we have said is true over these last couple episodes, apparently that's all really good for us.
That's dumb.
So let's go back to recap. In case someone didn't listen to last week's episode with Curtis, let's talk about Curtis for a second.
Oh, gosh, y'all, I love Curtis. He is my least favorite person ever. And I think I tell him that all the time. I will go to the gym and I will lay on the floor and I will just go, I pay you to do this to me. Like, I pay you to make me miserable. But I go for a variety of reasons. But I always tell him, I'm like, dude, I love going to see you at the gym because showing up in your gym is a very different experience for me than any other gym I've ever been in. You see me you see me very differently than anybody else has ever seen me. And you know how to push me in the best, worst ways. And I hate that about you.
Yeah. And by push, we mean he literally has to push us to get us up the hill.
Uh-huh. Oh, I pushed the sled, this dumb sled. He stands on it too, y'all. He just gets on it and he's like, go ahead and push it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
No,
don't let her lies deceive you guys. If you're listening in, I'm the one that went to see Curtis, fell in love with his approach to personal fitness.
Mm-hmm.
He is very contrarian when it comes to how he views strength and conditioning. I come back home and I'm like, babe, you got to go to the gym with me. This guy's amazing.
And I said, no.
She was like, no. And then she went and she's like, okay, fine. It's cool. And now who goes more than I do?
Who goes?
Whoa.
Me. I saw Curtis on.
This is temporary. I've had a lot going on.
I hope Curtis is listening to this.
This is temporary. I will, Curtis, if you're listening to this, I am coming back.
Oh, you have heard it here, folks.
I prepaid for a whole bunch of work.
I'm using them up very quickly. I just saw him on Tuesday, and the first words out of his mouth was, "Where's Harris?" And I said, "He's at home." But I'm here.
But I'm going to be vulnerable here for a second. I kind of feel dumb saying this. I don't know if I just skipped science class. Actually, yes, I did skip. I dropped out of school.
Did you graduate?
Yes. No, I of course. I didn't skip it. I just never
went.
There was no science. So maybe that's why this makes more sense. But I have no idea how I made it to 40 years old without ever pausing and realizing this. And when he explained it to me, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And now that you tell me that, yeah, I think I kind of knew that and kind of remember that from not high school science because I never took that, but like probably somewhere in middle school, they taught us this. And that is quite simply when you're coming in and doing, come on, Harris, it's literally called resistance training. But when you lift weights and stress out your body, it gets stronger. Who would have known? If you stress out your body,
Scientists.
It gets stronger.
Curtis.
Curtis and a whole bunch of scientists, and probably every single person that's listening in on this podcast episode right now. And be honest, friends, you're probably judging me just a little bit. But I just never connected these dots. And what an incredible metaphor for all of life, right? When we stress ourselves out, we get to find out what we're really capable of. When we're under adversity, it helps us grow. So I want to put you on the spot again. You said you were a 7 earlier on a scale of 0 to 10.
Yes.
What is an example of a time in your life that you were most stressed? And how did it give you an opportunity to find out what you were truly capable of? How did the stress or adversity help you grow stronger?
Oh my gosh. Ooh, the first one that came to mind, because that's just how I'm going to roll with these, was after I had Jude. I had our son in 2013, and it was a difficult birth. It was very difficult. I also came off the road after spending 10 years traveling with you all the time. We were barely ever apart, more than a couple of days. And when I think I came off the road at like 8 months pregnant. I was so pregnant because I didn't want to be done. When I had Jude, I had this really difficult pregnancy. I had a lot of difficulties after. It was not a cakewalk, and I struggled. I remember once sitting in front of the dishwasher and crying because I couldn't get it all the way closed. And you came in and you were like, oh, wow. But I didn't realize until much later that I was struggling with my identity. I was struggling with figuring out how I fit into this entire new ecosystem that we had created, this new person that literally needed everything from me. And I was kind of jolted out of the life that I knew in so many different ways, and home alone to now navigate being a mother and doing it not alone. You were there, but Jude was 2 weeks old, and you went on a 2.5 week tour. And I remember calling you, and you were like, do I need to come home? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. He's still crying. That was probably the most stressed out I had ever been in my entire life. It's probably the most stressed out I've ever been since, because I had literally lost sight of who I was. And I struggled. But if we want the silver lining in this, I learned so much about what I was capable of. I learned that I could give birth to a child. Didn't know I could do that. Did it 2 more times. I didn't know that I could quite literally shift my entire world, turn it upside down, and I would still be okay. Mm-hmm. And that I could be a mother to a tiny person, and I could keep him alive, and he would be happy, and he would be fed, and we would get everywhere we needed to go. And I could do that many times all by myself. And it's incredible what you realize you're capable of, what you realize your body is capable of. Because then every time after that, I'm like, well, I did give birth. So I've done the hardest thing. So everything is uphill or is downhill from here. So when I show up in the gym, I'm like, well, this isn't as hard as having a baby.
Yeah. And now you've had a kidney stone. And so all the people that are just like,
oh gosh.
Well, and it's like, well, yeah, I've done both. So
and see, then there is the don't get yourself in trouble, because you go, oh, I've already done that. I'm fine. Uh-huh. And then you don't deal with it. So it's yes, there's so much there. But yes, the stress I felt in that moment, the compounded stress that I experienced in the aftermath of giving birth to Jude was huge. Yeah. But if I could do that, we have conversations right now where I'm like, hey, let's just leave the country. That doesn't feel that hard because I had a kid.
It does. It puts things in perspective.
It really does.
Adversity is powerful like that. One of my favorite quotes from the conversation with Curtis, he said, adversity is the fire that forges the iron.
Mm.
It'd be easy to say something like that and roll our eyes and be like, oh, that's cheesy. That belongs on one of those motivational posters with the white box or whatever. Like adversity is the fire, faith is
Accessories.
the iron. And yet,
There's like an eagle flying over the water.
no, there's no eagle flying over the water. It's the
The
famous
iron.
sword
It's the
inside the forge. Yeah, yeah,
My bad.
yeah. But like, just because something sounds cheesy and cliche because we've heard it so many times doesn't mean it's untrue. There's probably a good reason why we need to be reminded of that over and over and over again. I think the same is true for me. Like when I look back at parts of my story that were the hardest, that had the most amount of adversity, if you gave me a little crystal ball, like if that was a real thing that exists and you put it in front of me and you're like, okay, here's the deal. Here's a crystal ball. I just want to give you a little glimpse into what's just around the corner. We got two options. You can go through it and it's going to royally suck. Or you can skip it. Like a dry erase marker on a dry erase board, we can just like erase that part and make it happy instead. Most of us would be like, give me the happy thing. I want the easy button, right? Fast forward. And yet those are the times that have shaped me into who I am today. And so when you look at something like working out in a gym with a trainer, what you're doing is you're literally choosing an intentional level of stress, and the right amount of stress gives you growth, conditioning, and strength. And so the question is, how do we get through it? Well, what a beautiful metaphor. Part of the way I get through it is the expert who's helping me learn how to navigate that stress is also right there at your side, encouraging you along the way, doing it with others instead of in isolation. Curtis talked a lot about how he still has these letters today, because when he went through this really hard season of almost losing his arm, essentially, his classmates at school, they started writing him letters and positive notes as a way of encouraging him. And you see that in the way that he shows up in the gym. He's now that person. I was about to say he's now that kid, because even though he's in his 30s, Curtis has this weird freakish gene where he looks like he's 14 years old, which we all wish we had. So he could not age. But he still has those. And now he's being that same positive encouragement for others.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's the same for you as it is for me, but when I go to the gym with Curtis, the challenges, I like look forward to them at some point. Like there's a threshold that I get to that I hear him go, hey, that was a PR. And I'm like, okay, well, when's the next one? And you start to go, okay, I'm okay now with it sucking a little bit, because I actually am looking forward to the thing I'm going to find on the other side of this. I'm looking forward to that moment where I get to go, man, look what I did. And he's so good at celebrating those moments. I went and saw him on Tuesday. I hadn't been there in a month because of all of these health issues. And I was like, hey, I'm coming in. I can't do a lot of stuff, but I need to move. And I sat down on the floor after lunges. And I was like, why do I feel so horrible? And he was like, it's okay. We're starting over, but that's okay. So you're here. That was the biggest thing. That's your new PR. Let's go. We're just going to start over. And he's so good about reframing the stress, reframing the things that we need to see in that moment. And I don't know if he's ever done that with you, or the way that your competitive brain works, like my competitive brain, which is what that threshold of once I cross over.
Yeah.
Now I want to push myself to see how far I can go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm shocked that you think you're competitive. I'm way more competitive than you are.
It's sort of true.
Yes, it totally is. I'm far more competitive.
Nope. This episode's going to go sideways real fast, upside down. We are both firstborns to anyone who's new here.
The podcast host in me just wants to continue to draw those parallels as a reminder to everyone listening in. It's like, okay, first of all, as we're saying, we've got to sign up for it. We have to choose the hard. So it's not just, this is not like, when you're experiencing hard things, here's a little pep talk. You can do this and it's going to shape you and you'll be grateful for it. That's true. But I think one of the things that has gotten you and I to where we are, to what I would describe as a wow level life, and I don't feel ashamed saying that, like we're living an extraordinary life, not because it's perfect, because that's not what a wow level life looks like. It's not extraordinary wealth, because that's not what a wow level life looks like. It's not perfect health and perfect chiseled bodies, because that's not what a wow level life looks like, right? A wow level life is being able to choose joy despite the circumstances, to be grateful no matter how things are unfolding all around you, to be able to find the magic and hold on to it and see it, even when it feels like the lights are strangely dim, right? And so we're living a wow level life, but I think a part of that is not just, oh, when things get hard and we're experiencing stress and adversity, like you confessed at the beginning of this episode, we've been through a difficult season these last few months. It's not power through because you'll be thankful it's helping you grow. It's that oftentimes you and I are choosing it. We're actually
Issues are
signing up
hard.
for it. Just like we decide I'm going to go to the gym and stress out the muscles in my body so that they get stronger, we are literally signing up and going, yeah, this is going to stretch us. And the risk of failure at a bunch of this is pretty high, but that's literally what we do in the gym every day is lift reps to failure, to literal failure. Like, hey, Curtis, bro, I can't do another rep.
And get back up.
It's like I'm literally at the failure mark. And it is that willingness to sign up for the adversity, to choose the conditions where you know you're going to be stressed. And that's very different than the people who find themselves accidentally or surprisedly stressed out and then just find a way to pep talk themselves to push through it because they know they're going to grow. Choose it. Sign up for it. And then when you do, make sure you don't do it alone. So just like Curtis had those classmates encouraging him and giving him those positive notes, you got to do it together. Because if you try to do it alone in isolation, it's going to be so much harder to push through.
Yeah, I know in the podcast he talks about rest as well, or in the episode he talks about rest as well. And when I think about when I head into the gym, and oftentimes it's, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and his first question is, how did you sleep? And I'm like, dude, every time you ask me this, I have 3 children and like 6 full-time jobs. So sleep is not a thing. but his emphasis on, okay, well, if you didn't do it today, when you get home, here's what I want you to do after you leave here. Hey, tonight, here's what I want you to be aware of with your body. And he will text us, or text me at least, and check in and go, hey, how are we feeling? How can I help you continue to feel better over the course of the day, or maximize what we did today? Mm-hmm. And then, hey, when we go into this weekend, how can you rest?
Yeah.
Like, I think you and I are not good resters. We will work to complete exhaustion. And by work, I don't mean just like actual job work. We will push to exhaustion, to a fault. Mm-hmm. And we are very, very acutely aware of that because it can create a lot of problems. And those kind of problems are the things that make it really hard to recover from, because you go, oh, well, see, look at this thing. See, working out in the gym made everything worse. When that's not the reality. It's that I didn't put boundaries in place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you could make a case. I could try to make a case for that it's not actually that we push too hard. It is true when you say we push to exhaustion. Maybe this is saying the same thing. It's that we forget to rest. Like we can go to exhaustion in the workout of life, so to speak, and go, okay, it's actually time to stop and have a recovery phase. But a recovery phase to you and I is not really rest. It's stop, drink a little bit of water, and catch your breath so that you can go hard again, right? Yes. I don't even know that it's pushing ourselves to the point of exhaustion. I don't think that's the mistake. The mistake is doing that and then choosing not to fully have a time of rest and recovery.
Yes.
So that the act of strengthening can occur.
Yes. Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying is, and again, just coming back to, hey, how did you sleep? That's him making us conscious of, are we doing all of the things our body requires in order to maximize the workout. Mm-hmm. So if I'm just working out and then sleeping terribly, that workout is not as effective as it could be if I was actually resting.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So good. All right, so sign up for it. By that, I mean sign up for the adversity. Take on a healthy level of stress. As Curtis says, that's his goal. It's his job to stress out the bodies of his clients so that they can get stronger. And it's all about strength and conditioning. And then when you do it, take some people with you. And if you're ever in Nashville, we want to take you with us. It's a pretty crazy offer. Who knows what kind of crazy people are out there listening to this podcast going, Harris, you said I could come to the gym with you. But we can try it at least once.
I have invited people and they have not cashed in on that.
Uh-huh.
And I show up and they're like, and Curtis will go, I thought you said so-and-so was coming. And I'm like, so did I.
Yeah, so many times. Now
I would love that.
Now I am that person who's not showing up, and this podcast is convicting me. I got to get back to it.
No.
But it has been a difficult season, but that's what makes us stronger. Kanye was right all along.
Okay. Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. He is right.
Right at the end of the episode. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. He is both right and wrong about many things. Guys, thanks so much for listening in to this episode. If you didn't catch last week's episode with Curtis, go give it a listen. And for real, if you're ever in Nashville, hit us up. Come to the gym with us sometime.
Check out Innate Performance and Curtis Rigg.
It's a good hang. It's a good hang. Innate Performance, it's an amazing place. Curtis is an amazing guy. Kate, you're an amazing co-host. I love having these conversations with you.
Thank you. You're an amazing co-host.
All right. Well, if you want to live a wow level life, this is a part of it, guys. Another thing to work on, how can we allow ourselves to lean into what stress and adversity has to teach us so that we can continue to get just a little bit more courageous. And that's going to require some vulnerability to submit to that process and to trust that process. One of my favorite quotes, this would be a good thing to end on, is from Brene Brown. She says, choosing to be curious is choosing to be vulnerable because it requires us to surrender to uncertainty. Seasons of adversity are filled with uncertainty. Every time I take a trip to the gym to work out with Curtis or with Kate, that's an hour that's filled with so much uncertainty, but it challenges me. It does not kill me because Curtis is wise, and therefore it makes me stronger. Thanks for listening into this episode. Do not miss next week's episode. We have an incredible story for you on our Curiosity episode. We're going to kickstart a new conversation that'll lead us to a new guest that'll lead us right back here to Kate and I for another Afterglow conversation. All right, we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you so much for listening.